Alrighty, so there's about an hour and a half before the next game of the four-game Sunday action between the Portland Timbers and LAFC that's going to be kicking off on FS1. I thought this would be a good time for me to do the review and look at the 8 games that happened last night. And we begin with talking about the first game between Atlanta United versus DC United. And I did say that in the preview that this is a game that I think a lot of people should keep an eye on. And I have even said that this is the game of the week because both of these teams are coming into this game red hot and expect there's going to be some fireworks in this one. Well, there was definitely fireworks in this game with a 5-goal thriller. And in some way, it could have been more if it wasn't for the goalkeeper of both teams making some incredible save. I mean, I know it sounds insane to say that when you see 5 goals in the game, you think that I would say the goalkeeper actually had a good game, but they really did. I thought both goalkeepers prevented some really good opportunity from both of these teams, and the scoreline could have been even more crazy if both goalkeepers didn't step up. Now, in the first half, Paredes whacked one that goes high from close range before Kamara looked like he scored the opening goal of the game for DC United, but there was already a foul that was long call on Arriola after Arriola trying to get to the ball first before Guzan comes off his lines, and it turns out that Arriola unfortunately kind of spiked Guzan there a little bit. There was no yellow card that was handed out there, but Guzan definitely felt like that should have been a yellow card. And so I don't disagree with him. I mean, I thought that was definitely a nasty kind of challenge that Arriola put on Guzan. But yeah, again, no yellow card was handed out in terms of that. But then 9 minutes later, we got ourselves our opening goal of this game, as Ezequiel Barco would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta, and for the second game in a row, he scored on a free kick. And this one, I think you could argue this one was even better than the last one that he scored against FC Cincinnati, where he literally put that in the position where no goalkeeper in the world is going to save it. I think even 2 goalkeeper in that would have not saved this one, because this was put into the top upper 90, and that, of course, as I said, gave Atlanta a 1-0 lead. And again, because this is an Atlanta United goal, you know that this is gonna probably win goal of the week. I mean, this week from the midweek action, I think the goal of the week unsurprisingly came from Atlanta United player, and it was Luis Araujo scoring an amazing goal, even though, in my opinion, the goal of the week probably should have been belonged to Chofis after he scored that Olympic goal. But just 3 minutes later, Kamara tried to poke it in for the equalizer for DC, but he missed wide before Hamid absolutely robbed Bello on a one-on-one opportunity in the 21st minute. But you can definitely see that Atlanta United was pushing for that second goal. But right before halftime, DC almost had another chance to tie the game up before halftime, as Guzan absolutely robbed Canals, who puts a good header, but Guzan with some cat-like reflexes to palm that one away, and we only head to halftime with Atlanta leading 1-0 in this game. So we go to the second half, and in the second half, 50 minutes in, Martinez just heads it wide from close range before Guzan had to deny Gresso on the free kick. Then Guzan absolutely robbed Edison Flores, who put an absolute missile of a strike from outside the 18-yard box. And the fact that Guzan actually got a good hand into that is kind of incredible, with the way that Flores really hit that one hard. But there was no doubt that DC was pushing for the equalizer. Arriola puts it wide from close range, but then 1 minute later, Atlanta doubled their lead, and it's Joseph Martinez scoring from Ezequiel Barco, and really kind of against the run of play, because I thought DC kind of started the second half the better side. But how many times we've seen this combination between Joseph Martinez and Ezequiel Barco scoring a goal? Like, this is started to really reminds me of that 2018 Atlanta team where remember how Martinez and Almiron had that incredible partnership, and it feels like every single game you're going to see that combination play. We're seeing it again now with Martinez and Barco, and I think for Atlanta fans, they're not only happy to see that, but they're also very happy for Ezequiel Barco too, because this was supposed to be the guy. Remember a couple of years ago when they bought him for $15 million? That was the guy that was supposed to replace Almiron, and it turns out to be a bit let down. Well, now we are finally starting to see his potential, and yeah, this has just been an incredible season for Barco, and if he can continue this up, I won't be surprised. He might be even sold off in the near future. But in the 67th minute, Araujo goes through on goal, but unfortunately he hits the side netting as Atlanta was hungry for a third and try to put this game away. Before Hamid had to deny Moreno's shot that took a wicked deflection. But then in the 75th minute, DC got themselves back in the game as Felipe would score an absolute missile from outside the range. And, I wrote goal of the week question mark, even though, as I said, most likely the goal of the week is going to win by Ezequiel Barco, because anytime when Atlanta scores an incredible goal, they're going to win the goal of the week. But if this doesn't win goal of the week, it still does deserve a good shout out, because he absolutely rifled that one from about 25 yards out. And even though Guzan had made some incredible save, he was not getting this one. Before in the 83rd minute, Hamid was able to deny Martinez from close range as Atlanta was looking to put the game away and get that elusive third goal, and they would get that in the 86th minute as George Bello scored from Moreno to make it 3-1 in favor of Atlanta. And I was very happy to see George Bello finally getting a goal. I mean, he really deserved it with the way that he's been playing in these last couple of games, and just been so unlucky of not getting a goal. But DC did pull one back late in this one, and it was another goal of the week contention as Edison Flores, it was him, the latest DC player, that just hits an absolute bullet of the strike from outside the box, and it went into the back of the net from Kamara and Gresso. But as much as that's an incredible goal, it was still just a consolation for DC, because Atlanta was able to win 3-2 in this game as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 13 that DC had, 6 shots on goal compared to 5 that DC had, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that DC had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that DC had, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that DC has in this game. And I'm just so happy the fact that this game did live up to its expectation, because as I said in the preview, as much as I said that I hope this game is going to have some fireworks, sometimes it just does not live up to that expectation. Well, this was not one of those games. This one definitely live up to the hype. And right now for Atlanta United, this team is starting to really reminds me of the 2016 Seattle Sounders. Remember, with the 2016 Seattle Sounders, they started the season really poorly, fired their head coach and bringing a new head coach named Brian Schmetzer, and how they went on to win MLS Cup. It could happen again with Atlanta United, firing Gabriel Heinze, bring in former Seattle Sounders assistant coach Gonzalo Pineda, and it seems like he is, in his short time with this team, he has already got this team playing something that right now that Atlanta is looking like a team that won MLS Cup back in 2018, and that is definitely bad news if you're some of the rest of the team in the Eastern Conference, unless if you're at the New England Revolution, which, by the way, I have a feeling if we're going to see a matchup between New England versus Atlanta, which I'm not quite sure if they're going to meet again before the end of the season, but if that's going to be the case, boy, oh boy, that is going to be a big game, and that could maybe even be a preview of the Eastern Conference final later this year. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of New England, they drew 1-1 against the Columbus Crew, and the only reason why they didn't get all 3 points was Eloy Rome. I mean, Eloy Rome probably put up one of the most impressive goalkeeping displays I've ever seen this season. And the fact that not only he stood on his head in this game, denying the refs a chance to win this game multiple times, but he actually was injured late in the game, and it looked like the refs was going to capitalize on that. But somehow, in some way, despite playing injured, he still were able to keep the ref off the score sheet. All but that one instant happened in the early part of the second half. Now, in the first half, 8 minutes in, Room were able to deny Heel from close range before Zardes actually had a big opportunity in the back post, and that's one of those that you would think Jerzy Zardes should bear it, but he puts it wide from the back post before Room was able to deny Gustavo Ball after a WTF turnover from the Columbus defense. Not the first time I get to say about that, and especially this won't be the last time I'll say about how the Crew backline give a sloppy giveaway that gives the rest a chance to get a goal in this one. But just 9 minutes later, it's Rome able to deny Buchanan in the near post as the refs were really pressing for the opener. Carlos Hill tried to curl one in, and it almost went in there, but it went just wide of the left side of the post from 22 yards out, and we head to halftime scoreless, despite the fact that New England were by far the better team in this game. Now in the second half, Buxa puts it wide from 16 yards out, and I thought the refs really picked up where they left off, which is looking for that opening goal. But instead, it's Columbus, the one that gets the opening goal. And, I talked about how earlier Zardes missed a big opportunity in the back post. Well, this time, he makes no mistake as he got another chance to score a goal, and he puts it away from Afro and Nappy to give the Crew a 1-0 lead in a goal that was kind of against the run of plays with the way how the refs were by far the better team. But that lead unfortunately did not last long, because 4 minutes later, Buxa would equalize for the refs in this game. And like I said, I said before that this is not the last time I'm going to say that the Crew have a bad giveaway in the back line, and here we go again. Just a poor giveaway from Jonathan Mensah, gifted to Buxa, who went for on goal. And Buxa basically said, thank you very much. I'm just going to capitalize on this opportunity. And just like that, the game is tied up at 1 apiece. Like, I think this has been by far the biggest issue right now for this Crew team, where there's just so many games we have seen this back line, which, last year, this back line was supposed to be the best back line in the league. But seeing this season where this back line, it really hasn't changed a lot. Like, it's not like there's been guys that have been either sold off or on the injury list. It's mostly kind of the same back line, but the fact that they're making so much mistake this season from something we just did not see from last year is just incredibly shocking to see. And again, here we go again. Another this was a result of a poor giveaway, and this, I think if this does continue, don't be surprised if the Crew could actually miss the playoffs. And if they actually do miss the playoffs, this is the reason why they do so, besides the amount of injuries that they had to overcome this year. Now, in the 65th minute, Buxa did heads it wide from close range, as New England really can smell blood, and they were looking for the lead. Buxa had another chance in the 82nd minute, but he heads it over the bar from close range before Bunbury puts it over the bar from close range too. And then in the 85th minute, this is when there was a lot of concern if you're a Crew fan, because when Eloy Room basically took the goal kick, he immediately grabbed his hamstring, and when that happens, that could be bad. But here's the problem: the Crew was out of sub, so we look like we're probably going to see something what we saw in the game between the Sounders and the Quakes. But remember, that was the game where Stephen Fry went down with a hamstring injury, and the Sounders were out of sub, and basically Alex Rodon has to fill in to be the goalkeeper, and he makes some incredible save. Well, it looks like that's going to be the same case with the Crew in this game, but instead, Room basically called off the trainers, and he says he even though he is clearly injured with a hamstring injury, he's just going to stay there. But that being said, that also means that, if you are New England, you are literally testing Room every single chance that you had. And late in the game, they were definitely testing him. Buxa just puts it high on the corner in the 88th minute. Before, in the 89th minute, there was this incredible sequence when Room, who basically only have a leg fresh after he had his hamstring on his right, he somehow make an incredible save by robbing Buxa with a kick save on his left foot that was not pull of a hamstring. And then somehow, in some way, he had the audacity to even get back up and denying and robbing Buxa again on the header. And then there was even a third crack of the cherry for the refs to get the lead, as Buchanan tried to follow it up, but puts it over the bar. And I thought at that point, I kind of had a feeling that, something tells me the refs are not going to score, and something tells me that we're going to see another heroic kind of performance by a goalkeeper that, in this case, even though he's injured, he is still trying his best to keep going in this game. Before, in the 5th minute of stoppage time, Buchanan puts it high from close range, and despite the fact that New England had tons of chances in this game, Eloy Room stole the show, and he is able to get his team a big 1-1 draw in this game against the refs, as the shots in this game, 33 shots compared to just 6 that the Crew had, 7 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Crew had, 18 shots off target compared to 2 that the Crew has, 8 shots that is blocked compared to 2 that the Crew has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that the Columbus Crew has. And it's not often we see a game that is so one-sided in terms of the stat lines, and yet the team that dominates the stat line still weren't able to come up with a big victory. But like I said, Eloy Rome was the reason that is the case. And the only concern, I think, if you're the Crew coming out of this game, is that with Rome did suffer that hamstring injury. That means looks like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. But at the same time, this is a big point against the Revs, and a point that it looked like for sure that they were not going to get, especially late in this game. But for New England, yeah, this is going to be a very frustrating resort, and I think they'll still be fine in that. This is just kind of one of those games where even the best team in the league will have those opportunities, or have those games where no matter how many opportunities they had, it was just not their day in terms of their finishing, and they'll just kind of move on to the next game to hope to get 3 points again. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Cincinnati and NYCFC, who, remember how Cincinnati finally get their first ever home win at TKO Stadium against TFC, and they're finally able to get something, and that Cincinnati fans finally got something to cheer about? Yeah, that was probably the highlight of their moment, because they're back being a team that once again is not only losing games, but also losing games in painful fashion. And in this game against NYCFC, they had the chances to not only get a point out of this game, but also even have a chance to win this one, but they weren't able to do so. And you can definitely see that maybe this is starting to catch up to some of these players, because at the end of the game, these FC Cincinnati players just completely lost their heads, and ends up having a situation where they got themselves down to 9 men at one point of this game. Now, early on, 4 minutes into this game, it was actually an incredible start for FC Cincinnati, as Brenier would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati, although this was kind of a gift from Chanel, where he basically miscleared that one, and it somehow ends up in the feet of Brenier, and he basically goes for a goal and makes no mistake on that to give FC Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. But 4 minutes later, Chanel looked to redeem himself after they're costing his team a goal there early, but he missed high from long range before Maxime Moraz fired just wide on the volley, and then Titan had to deny to Jure Shradi, and that NYCFC, after that slow start, they gifted the opening goal for FC Cincinnati. They were definitely in control of this game and were looking to try to get the equalizer, and they would do so in the 37th minute. It's Keaton Parks scoring from Forensen to tie the game up at 1 apiece before it was almost 2-1 in the 41st minute when Tajiri Shradi's shot took a wicked deflection that hits off the post. But that being said, in the second minute of stoppage time, it almost was 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati, as Acosta almost scored against the run of plays as he's trying to curl one for about 23 yards out, but that one missed wide as we head to halftime, all tied at 1 apiece between both of these teams. Now, in the second half, Bernier thought that he scored his second goal and gave FC Cincinnati the lead back, but the goal was disallowed for offside on the attacking sequence, and this was actually going all the way back in the beginning of the attacking sequence, which I forgot which Cincinnati player was that got caught in an offside position, but it was kind of a long ball that was starting this attack for FC Cincinnati, but that player was in an offside position, and rightfully so, the goal was disallowed after they go to VAR. But then 4 minutes later, there was a penalty that was given to NYCFC after Cameron brought down Castellanos in the box. Now, obviously, I know Cincinnati fans are not going to be happy with this because, they feel like Tati Castellanos went down the ground way too easily. And knowing Tati Castellanos and his reputation of going down on the ground easily, it's kind of fair to say that Cincinnati fans kind of had a right to do so, and it just feels like in this sequence, Tati Castellanos definitely went down on the ground a little bit too easily, but at the same time, I thought there was still enough kind of contact that Cameron basically did there, and that I feel like Castellanos was kind of being a little bit clever there to try to win down on the ground to try to draw a penalty and trying to sell it to the referee, which that the referee that was convinced that it was a penalty. And then in the 60th minute, it's Castellanos himself that was able to put away the penalty to give NYCFC a 2-1 lead. So in a blink of an eye, where Cincinnati had a chance to take the lead, but the goal was disallowed for offside, on the other end, they concede a penalty. I mean, it's been kind of that just sums up Cincinnati's season and really sums up their time in MLS ever since they came into the league were in 2019, where just as you thought that there was some hope that things would turn around, boom, there you go. They're now down in this game, and the team once again did punch them in this one. But in the 62nd minute, Barriel puts it wide from close range before Vasquez clearly should have tied the game up for Cincinnati. Like, he had a free header from 10 yards out. It was a beautiful ball delivery from Lucho Acosta, but Vasquez wasn't able to put that one on target. Cincinnati was really pushing for the equalizer. Brenier hits the post in the 78th minute, and this is also when you realize that these Cincinnati players feel like this is just one of those days again, and they started to, with how many of these tough losses that Cincinnati has, you just kind of had a feeling eventually not only it gets to the fans, but it's going to start to get to the players, because there was definitely some frustration to the Cincinnati players, and Barriel was one of those players. Like, literally, he basically just kind of retaliated on something that he thought that it was a foul, and when you retaliate like that, yeah, you are going to get a straight red for that. Before, in the 5th minute of stoppage time, Otunga would be the latest one to give his marching order, as Cincinnati was down to 9 men. Now, I know Cincinnati fans will also argue the fact that foul on Otunga, yes, it was kind of a little bit malicious, but it was another one of those that they feel like Castellanos basically sold it when he was the victim of getting that tackle from behind from Otunga. But that being said, that is still not a very, very nice challenge from Otunga, and Cincinnati was down to 9 men, and you just kind of sense that, again, these players, they were very frustrated with how this game has went, and really frustrated how this season has went, because now they have suffered another loss in this game, as NYCFC will win 2-1 in this one, and the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to the 9 that FC Cincinnati has, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that NYCFC had, 6 shots off target compared to 7 that NYCFC had, no shots compared to 2 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 43% possession compared to 57% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And even though, for NYCFC, they didn't really completely blown out FC Cincinnati like they have been doing most of the case, they still have a perfect record against this team, and they just love to play this team whenever they want. I mean, if they can play this team every single week, they definitely would win the supporters show by the time we even hit October in the season. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is no doubt the one of the biggest upset of this season, and definitely the biggest upset of this match week so far, is Toronto FC taking down Nashville SC in this one by winning 2-1 and only handing Nashville the 3rd loss of the season. Now, early on in this game, I thought Nashville was definitely on the front foot, and it looked like Nashville was going to once again run away with this one. CJ Sapon hits one straight to Alex Bono in the 11th minute. Before 7 minutes later, Toronto gets the opening goal, and it's Jacob Schaffelberg scoring his first goal of the season and only his 2nd goal in his career from RO to make it 1-0 in favor of TFC. Before Osorio had another chance to give Osorio had a chance to give TFC the 2-0 lead, but he puts it wide from 15 yards out. But we do head to halftime with TFC having a 1-0 lead. Now in the second half, TFC was once again hungry for that 2nd goal, but they couldn't quite get it in the 2nd minute of the second half, or in the 47th minute, when Willis was able to deny Achara from 19 yards out. Before Schaffelberg looked to score his 2nd goal of the game, but he puts it in the side netting. But like I said, TFC was definitely pushing for that 2nd goal and was looking to try to pull off a surprising upset in this one. But in the 58th minute, Bono absolutely robbed CJ Sapon from point-blank range. Like, I think Sapon's when he hit that, he thought that he scored in that goal, but Bono with an incredible save, robbing Sapon there. Before Zimmerman struck the post on the header in the 61st minute, and really in a blink of eye, all of a sudden, it's Nashville the one that we're looking to try to push forward and trying to pressure TFC to get the equalizer, and they eventually would get the equalizer in the 73rd minute, as CJ Sapon, one of the most surprising player this season to have an incredible year and has just been red hot with this Nashville team. He scored from Randall Leao to make it in tie the game at 1 apiece. Now, I also wrote offside, but there also should have been a question mark there, because I thought for a second maybe Cesar Sapon was in an offside position when the ball was played from Randall layout, but they go and replay to check to make sure. Well, actually, they didn't even go to VAR, but they did kind of look at it to make sure that it was onside, and indeed it was. And just like that, Nashville ties the game up at 1 apiece, and at that point, I would definitely fancy the fact that they were going to come from behind to win 2-1 against TFC, knowing the fact that TFC has always found a way to lose a game. But tonight definitely was, or tonight was a night where they determined that that was not going to be the case, because just 6 minutes later, they retake the lead. It's Omar Gonzalez scoring a rare goal from Saltado to make it a 2-1 game in favor of TFC. And late in this game, they actually had a couple of opportunities to make it 3-1 and kill this game off. Larea tried to do so as he went through on goal, but he hits one straight to Joe Willis before Mullins puts one wide from a 19 yards out effort. But in the end, TFC getting a surprising 2-1 win against Nashville SC, and the shots in this one, 9 shots compared to 11 that Nashville has, 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that Nashville has, 4 shots off target compared to 5 that Nashville has. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 44% possession compared to 56% possession that Nashville has in this game. And this was one of the rare nights that we saw this Nashville team, and especially on the defense, look really suspect. And TFC was able to take advantage of it. And even though this win doesn't really mean much to them, I mean, it's just a win to add to their tally. There's just no way they're gonna start a run right now. They're just way too late into the season to go on an incredible run to make it into the playoffs. But hey, at least there's got some positive for this team, or some positive that TFC can give to their fans to cheer. Which this season there hasn't really been a lot of that. But for Nashville, as frustrated that this result is, they just got to move on, because, again, as I said about New England earlier, every good team is going to have those games where they just had a bad game. And, with how good Nashville has been, you just kind of sense that they were due for a bad game, and this just was one of those. But, with the way that if this is supposed to be kind of a bad game for Nashville, boy, oh boy, this can basically tells you that this team is definitely a contender, because I don't think they play badly throughout this game. It's just that I thought their defense at times were a little bit suspect, which has been, again, something I haven't said a lot about this team. In fact, probably have never said anything about that for this season, because they have just been so locked down on the defensive department this season. That is Nashville SC. But now I am going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games that happened in the Saturday night action. Moving on, in terms of the next match, is Austin and the Quakes. Now, I have seen a lot of ugly Quakes games during my year of supporting this team, and I can safely say that this is definitely going to be ranked up as the top 5 ugliest win I have ever seen the Quakes able to pull off, because they look like they were down and out in this game. Like, I thought at the end of the first half, with the way that they were down 3-1, I thought the season was done for the Quakes, with the way that this was a must-win game for them, and the fact that you go down 3-1 at halftime to the worst team in the Western Conference, I basically had no faith that this team could come back. But somehow, in some way, this team, for once, actually proved me wrong, and they showed some resiliency in the second half to come back from a 3-1 deficit, and kind of did it relatively quickly to be up 4-3 in this game. And in the end, they kind of hold on just a little bit, even though they were up a man, to be able to pull off a massive victory to keep them in the playoff race in the Western Conference. But it definitely was not a great start from the Quakes in this one, as 5 minutes into this game, Jerussi would give Austin a 1-0 lead, and I have really been impressed with Sebastian Jerussi ever since he has joined this Austin team, and maybe Austin has finally found that missing link in that number 9 position that has just been a big issue for them this season. But unfortunately, that lead would not last long, because 12 minutes later, Marcos Lopez would score from Fierro to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that was a rare corner goal that the Quakes has had. I mean, this team has not known to score goals from the set piece and from the corner, and that was just one of the rare time that they were able to do so. In fact, I think that's the first time in a long time that they have been able to score from the corner, because I don't even remember the last time the Quakes were able to score from a corner. Definitely not this season, because I don't recall this season they have ever scored a goal from a corner. But in the 26th minute, Stuver was able to deny Espinoza there as the Quakes were looking to take the lead and turn this game on its head. But instead of that, it's Austin, the one that was able to retake the lead, as Gallagher would score from Ring and Pereira to make it 2-1 in favor of the Quakes. And usually when I see the opposition able to score an amazing goal, I just really just kind of had to tip my hat off of and just kind of applaud. And this was an example of that, where this was just beautiful soccer from Austin, kind of like a tiki-tacky kind of goal for them, passing the ball very well on the attack that lets to a goal. And that's just one that, even though I could argue maybe the Quakes should have done a little bit better in terms of defending that, I just had to take my hat off to them, because that was just such a well worked goal for Austin to give themselves a 2-1 lead. But in the 44th minute, Chofis was trying to go for another Olympico, and he actually did not miss by that much. I mean, if you score an Olympico, I have a feeling you're probably going to try to do the same thing in the next game. And again, Chofis, he's tried to do it again, but this one just tips over the bar by Stuver, before, right on the stroke of halftime, Alex Ring scored from Jerussi to make it 3-1 in favor of Austin. And while it was a great strike from Alex Ring here, this was not good defending whatsoever from the Quakes. Like, zero closing down from the Quakes there. And knowing the fact that Ring can definitely strike those one from outside the box, that was inexcusable for the Quakes to not close down whatsoever and allow Ring to have that shot, which ends up into the back of the net. And this is also when I wrote the Quake season looked to be done. Like, I thought that goal really not only zapped my energy of hoping this team can get a must win, but it really just zapped my energy in terms of the fact that this looks like it's going to be on verge of another disappointing season, where the Quakes have expectation and they falter because of it, and they look like they're pretty much done in terms of trying to make the playoffs this season. But in the second half, something clicked, and I feel like maybe Almeida probably had some choice words with his players at halftime, and basically tell his player that the season is on the line. You better turn around this, or else we are not going into the playoffs. Because in the second half, you can definitely sense that this Quakes team were playing some urgency, almost playing like they're basically are up for elimination. Because in the 49th minute, they got to go back. It's Espinoza scoring for Kikanovic to make it 3-2 in this game, before Stuver denied Kikanovic in the near post in the 52nd minute, as the Quakes were were pushing for an equalizer, and they had a chance to do so in the 56th minute when a PK was given to them after VAR deemed that Ring handball in the box. Now, I know some Austin fans were not happy with this call, and in some way, I kind of do agree in some way, where it was kind of harsh with the way that the ball, even though Ring kind of handballed this one, it kind of also hit his knee at the same time. And maybe, I think, if I remember from the replay of this, it might have hit his knee and then hit his hand there. And usually when that happened, it is very harsh to give a penalty there. But nevertheless, it was given, and the Quakes took advantage of it as Chofis steps up to tie the game up at 3 apiece in the 56th minute. And as the Quakes were getting that ball out of the net, like, again, that this team, even though the game was tied up at 3 apiece, they know that it's not enough and that they need to get all 3 points in this game. But as they were trying to get the ball out of the net quickly, Espinoza kind of lightly bumped Cascante in the net as Cascante was trying to make sure the Quakes doesn't get a quick restart after scoring that goal. And yeah, Stuver definitely did not like that. He basically retaliated by body checking Espinoza. Now, I think the only reason why Stuver did not get sent off in that instant is because he body checked. If he actually maybe headbutt Espinoza, or even use his hand and basically shove Espinoza in the face, that is an automatic red card. But because of the fact that was kind of just a body check, and I know a lot of Quakes fans were angry that Stuver did not get sent off, but I feel like because of the fact that he kind of body checked him like that, yeah, I think a yellow card is definitely worthy. But that being said, that is not a good look for Brad Stuver, because yes, I know you're frustrated that your team has gave up a 3-1 lead, but you can't just retaliate it like that, and could really even make the referee hand out the red card if he feels like it. And later on, it turns out that even the soccer gods kind of didn't like that too, because just 5 minutes later, karma hit Brad Stuver big as Chofis would complete the incredible comeback from the Quakes in the 62nd minute. And I kind of wrote soccer gods don't lie, and you know how there's always that phrase, ball don't lie. Well, I'm going to also say that this is kind of like a soccer gods don't lie in that moment, because the soccer gods must be not happy to see how Stuver kind of retaliate one of the Quakes player, and he basically had a big karma to Stuver there. And I will also say that even without talking about the whole karma situation and talk about the whole soccer god stuff, that is one that I think Stuver should save. Like, Chofis didn't really hit that too strongly toward the near post, and that's just one that, with how Brad Stuver, remember how a lot of people would consider him to be the goalkeeper of the year? We have seen more and more of the situation where he clearly should have saved an opportunity, and not only the fact that it's hurting his chance of winning goalkeeper of the year, but it's no surprise we're seeing this Austin team start to fall apart in the defense. Like, when you look at these last couple of games, they have given up tons of goals and started to ship off goals left and right. And it's no surprise that when you are shipping off goals and you're also still struggling to score goals, they have pretty much lost almost every single game ever since that trend has happened. But in the 65th minute, things gets even worse for Austin as Ring would get his second yellow card. Although, to be fair, as bad as that kind of got for Austin, later on it actually turns out to maybe be a good thing for Austin, because they really started to press the Quakes again, despite the fact that they were down to 10 men. Mark Sinkowski had to deny Jerussi in the 74th minute before Mark Sinkowski had to tip Cascante's header high. And again, Austin, despite the fact that they were down to 10 men, they were pushing for a late equalizer and trying to make this a 4-4 game, and the Quakes, they were just under siege in the last 20 minutes. And I was thinking that, yeah, the Quakes are going to give up a goal. Like, I've seen this before. They're going to give up a late goal and all that effort that they had in the second half will basically means nothing. But in the end, they were still, for once, they were able to hang on to win 4-3 in this one. And the shots in this one, 15 shots apiece for both of these teams. 10 shots on goal compared to 8 that the Quakes has in this game. So, one of the big issue for Austin this season is that despite the fact that they put a good number in terms of the shots total, not a lot of them has been on goal, because they really haven't been testing the opposition goalkeeper. But this was just different. I mean, they really tested Mark Sinkowski in this game. And even though Mark Sinkowski gave up 3 goals in this game, he makes some big save in this one. That is the reason why the Quakes were able to walk out with 3 points. But speaking of which, shots on goal was 10-8 in favor of Austin. 3 shots on target compared to the 4 that the Quakes had. 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Quakes had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And again, it's a massive win for the Quakes to just able to keep themselves in the Western Conference race. And there's no doubt that if they play like this against any other team, yeah, it's going to be a loss. But they got away with it in this game. And, even though it is a very ugly win for the Quakes, I'll take it with the way that this team is so desperate to try to get 3 points. And you're getting to that part of the season where if you're going to have to try to get above the red line, you take any points possible, whether it's ugly, whether it's great performance, or maybe you get help from the referee at some time in a game. So yeah, this is a big win for the Quakes, and let's just hope maybe they can build up this big victory that they had heading into the next game. But now moving on into the next game, and speaking of big wins, and one of my other team that gets to get a big win is Minnesota. And I said coming into this game, this was a must-win game for the Loons against the Galaxy, even though I know Minnesota have never beaten the Galaxy in their franchise history. Well, that is now changed. They finally get their first win against the Galaxy, and you definitely sense that this team, there was some urgency of this Loons team early in this game, and the fact that, this was also a game where they were able to get 2 of their most important attacker in Reynoso and Le back in the starting 11, and they immediately made a big impact because 4 minutes in, it's those two guys that came back in the starting 11 on the score sheet and on the assist chart, as Reynoso would score from Le to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead. What a strike this was from Reynoso from outside the box, and this is easily Reynoso's best game of the season, and he started to look like the Reynoso that was last season, that was just putting on a show in terms of being an incredible playmaker. And then 16 minutes later, he gets up on the score sheet again. This time he scored from Fragapane to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. And again, it was a long-range effort that was on target. Although, that being said, you also question the Galaxy defense there, where, if you saw one of the opposition able to score a goal from outside the 18-yard box, shouldn't you maybe try to prevent that happening by closing down a little bit? Because there was just no closing down whatsoever from this Galaxy defense on Reynoso, and basically Reynoso made them pay by scoring the second goal of this game. And this was exactly the ideal start that I was hoping this team has coming into a must-win game, and hope to score some early goals. And they got 2 inside 20 minutes. And it could have been 3 just 29 minutes in, as Trapp just puts it over the bar. But like I said, there is definitely that sense of urgency from this Loons team. And again, I got to give credit to Adrian. He really fired up this team coming into this game. He definitely they had some choice words in terms of that performance against Sporting KC, and this team really responded well early in this one. But that being said, in 38th minute, the Galaxy did try to get themselves back in the game, as Miller was able to deny Joveljic before Finley just dragged it wide from, not wide, but from close range in the 39th minute. And we head to halftime with Minnesota leading 2-0 against the Galaxy. Now in the second half, Miller was able to deny Cabral from close range before Vasquez puts one into the side netting. And, in the second half, after that good urgency that the Loons were showing in the first half, that was not the case to start the second half. And this is also where I started to get a little bit worried, because I've seen this before with this team where, they go up 2-0 and they put the foot off the gas, and next thing you know, it invite the opposition to get back into the game, and next thing you know, it sets up a very nervy kind of game. But fortunately, this was not one of those games, because the Loons eventually get that crucial third goal, and it's Ethan Finley scoring from Fragapane to make it 3-0 in favor of Minnesota. There was definitely a hint for offside. In fact, I think Kendrick Easton Open even said on the broadcast that, yeah, I thought it was offside in real time, but when you look on the replay, it looks like, well, the Galaxy defender just kept Finley onside there, although at the same time, it was a great run from Finley to keep himself onside there, because once he made that run, he was all alone in goal, and he just easily slots it in to make it 3-0 in favor of Minnesota. And as the time kind of winds down, the Loons were just looking to shut up shop and trying to preserve a 3-0 lead. In the 87th minute, they were also trying to prevent the Galaxy by getting a goal and trying to preserve the clean sheet, as Joveljic puts one high over the bar from close range. And then it was almost 4-0 in the 90th minute when Hunu goes through on goal, but he just missed a little bit high. But in the end, a comfortable victory for a team that desperately need a win, as Minnesota was able to win 3-0 against the Galaxy. As the shots in this one, 9 shots compared to 8 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots off target compared to 4 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Galaxy had. And possession-wise, the Galaxy actually had the majority of the possession, 65% compared to 35% possession that the Loons has in this game. But as I said, this is a big win for this team to now get themselves back above the red line, and hopefully they'll stay above the red line depending on the later resort between the Timbers and LAFC. And I think if LAFC does win, the Loons unfortunately will go back below the red line, but they do have a game in hand over LAFC, and with the way how they perform in this game, let's just hope that will continue in these next couple of games, because I think the next game they have is going to be against the Houston Dynamo, and that game, while it looked easy a couple of weeks ago, definitely was not the case with the way the Dynamo has kind of started to catch some fire. But that is a game that I think Minnesota could easily win and can get themselves now back into potentially getting themselves back into a more comfortable position above the red line. But that being said, moving on into the next match, and speaking of the Houston Dynamo, So moving on in terms of the next match is the Dynamo. So, I've said this before. When you have a team that goes through a long winless run like the Dynamo just went a couple of weeks ago, where they had a 16-game winless run that finally came to an end, not only that's a huge monkey off your back, but also that could be a start of the team getting some confidence and maybe getting a couple of results after this long winless run. And this just seems like it's the case with this Dynamo team. You're clearly seeing this team playing with much more confidence than they were during this winless run. And they might have even knocked FC Dallas' chance of making the playoffs this season off after getting this 3-2 win in the Texas Derby. Now, early on, 2 minutes in, it was actually Dallas, the one that had the first chance of the game as Orion puts it wide from close range. But 3 minutes later, the Dynamo gets the opening goal. It's Griffin Dorsey scoring to make it 1-0 in favor of the Dynamo. Before it could have been 2-0 in favor of the Dynamo if Fafa Pico just could not quite keep his header below the bar and heads that one high. But there was no doubt that Houston was in control of this game early, and in the 20th minute, they would double the lead. And it's Fafa Pico, who has been one of the most red-hot striker in the league and has just been red-hot for the Dynamo in these last couple of games. He scored from Griffin Dorsey to make it 2-0 in favor of Dallas. Pepe did try to get one back for Dallas as he's trying to chip the goalkeeper, but missed just a little bit high. Though I will say that Dallas did start to kind of show some fight back and start to get back into this game. Nelson had to deny Cervinia from long range in the 35th minute before Ferreira drive a free kick that was high over the bar in the 4th minute of stoppage time, and we head to halftime with the Dynamo leading 2-0. Now in the second half, Brian Acosta drive one high in the 47th minute before Ferreira puts it high as Dallas, once again trying to get one back into this game, trying to get themselves back into the Texas Derby, but that chance looked like it was gone up in smoke because in the 57th minute, a penalty was given to the Houston Dynamo after Acosta brought down Parker down in the box, and this is just inexcusable if you're Dallas. Like, Parker literally had his back toward goal, and just Brian Acosta inexplicably decided to bring down Parker in the box and give the Houston Dynamo a chance to put this game away, which they gladly take advantage of that, as Quintero was able to put away that penalty to give Houston a 3-0 lead, and you just sense that this game was pretty much done, right? Well, late in this game, Rodriguez hits one that was 24 yards out that goes straight to Nelson before Ferreira looked like he got one back for Dallas, but the goal was disallowed for offside. But eventually Dallas does get one back as Obrian would score from Ferreira to make it 3-1 in favor of Houston. But then in the second minute of stoppage time, Obrian scores again, and all of a sudden this game was 3-2. And keep in mind, there was still a couple of minutes left in stoppage time, so the Dynamo went from a game where it looked like they were cruising to come to a victory to now unnecessarily made it a very interesting last couple of minutes in stoppage time. And despite the fact that Dallas was continuing to trying to complete a miraculous comeback, they fall short as Houston was able to win 3-2 in this game. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 16 that Dallas had, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that Dallas had, 3 shots off target compared to 6 that Dallas had, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that Dallas has in this game. And even though Houston, this win doesn't really mean that much to them in terms of the standings because they're already done this season, it does mean a lot in terms of the Copa TR standings, which I believe right now Houston is leading that standings. And, the importance of the Copa TR is definitely very meaningful now, especially with these Free Texans team. Look like they're pretty much done for this season, and that's kind of something they have left to play for. And, for Dallas, it's pretty clear that they feel like they're pretty much done this season, because just a couple of hours ago, it was announced that Luchi Gonzalez has been fired by FC Dallas, and I will definitely make a video tomorrow talk about what went wrong for Luchi Gonzalez and during his time with FC Dallas. But yeah, it definitely looked like, Dallas was already started in a point where, yeah, it seems like we're pretty much done. We just need to maybe start thinking about cleaning house, and that's why they decided to get rid of Luchi Gonzalez. And we'll see whether or not for the rest of the season they'll probably go with an interim head coach, knowing again they feel like they're looking to move into a new direction, at least in the coaching department. And I think this is probably one of those head coaching firing that we won't find out who exactly is going to be a new head coach until probably heading into the off season. But now moving on into the last match of the Saturday action is RSL getting a huge 1-0 win against the Seattle Sounders. Now, granted, this was no doubt not the strongest Sounders team, and in some way, I kind of also forgot to mention in the preview that not only the Sounders does have a game where, you know, this might not only could potentially be a letdown for them after that big League Cup win against Santos Laguna, but they are also playing the League Cup final on Wednesday in Las Vegas, and you can kind of tell that coming into this game, a lot of these players kind of had that thought in their mind, because yeah, this was kind of an inexplicably bad performance from the Sounders team. And again, even though they weren't started the strongest team in this one, you still expect that the Sounders are going to put up a fight against RSL. And throughout this game, you know, RSL, even though they won 1-0 in this game, they could have made it a little bit more comfortable if they would have been a little bit more clinical in terms of their finishing. But early on, Rui Diaz almost gave the Sounders the early lead, but he missed highs on the free kick before Rubio Rubin drive one that goes wide from long range, and then Glad had a header that kind of took a big one hopper, but it just goes high over the bar. But it was a promising start for RSL in the first 15 minutes of this game, and they looked like they got the opening goal 15 minutes in as Aaron Herrera absolutely smacked one off the post. Like, I was surprised that post was still in place, because the shot that Herrera hit, that was probably one of the hardest hit shot I've seen the player made, and definitely the hardest shot I've ever seen that gets rattled the post. And you can definitely hear it too with the way that shot was hit off the bar. But then there was a shout for a penalty for RSL, as it looked like they thought that there was a handball in the box committed by one of the Sounders players, but it was nothing given. Before Stefan Fry had to deny Rubin from close range, I thought Fry had a good game, and in some way he really kept this Sounders team in this game as long as possible. But there was no doubt that RSL was pressing for the opener, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, RSL finally got the opener. It's Damir Krylak scoring from Herrera, and not Krylak. I actually got that one wrong. I think there was another player that had the secondary assist. I'll just say that Krylak, of course, got the goal from Herrera to give RSL a 1-0 lead, but certainly a much deserved lead for the host, considering they had a lot of opportunity and they finally capitalized on it. Though the game, I thought, did start to become end to end a little bit, which that definitely does not favor RSL, because the Sounders, we know that they could be very good whenever they go on the transition. But in the 57th minute, Fry absolutely robbed Rusnak, who tried to kind of stat one in from 6 yards out. It looks like he did it, but Fry just full stretch able to deny him there. An example of why Stefan Fry is considered one of the best goalkeeper in the league. In the 62nd minute, Rubin then missed wide after a great solo run that he had. And, you know, RSL, they were having a lot of chances in this game, but when you are playing against the likes of the Seattle Sounders, you know those missed chances, is that going to come back to haunt them? Now, thankfully, it didn't, because in the 82nd minute, Montero did have a chance to equalize for the Sounders, but he heads that one wide. And despite the fact the Sounders pushed late to get an equalizer, RSL hold on to win 1-0 in this game. As the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 9 that the Sounders had, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 5 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Sounders had. And possession-wise, 44% possession compared to 56% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And not only the fact that, you know, this is big 3 points for RSL, knowing the fact that they are now moving further away from the red line. But they're now in a position where if they can keep on this relatively good run that they've been in, they can actually catch some of the team that is in the top 4, and that, you know, knowing the fact that the Galaxy, of course, lost against Minnesota. RSL, I think, are only 2 points behind the Galaxy in terms of that 4th position. And like I said, that 4th position is very important, because that's the last spot in terms of at least hosting one home game in the playoffs, and this is also why I'm going to go back to what I said in this game between Minnesota and the Galaxy, of how this loss to the Galaxy is going to hurt them, because they really need to start to get their acts together if they want to keep their top, or can't keep their spot in the top 4, because right now there are a team that is trying to chase them down and are hungry to try to get that last elusive spot to at least host one home game in the playoffs. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for all the games on Saturday, and later today when I've finished watching RSL, or not RSL, when the Portland Timbers take on LAFC and also Vancouver taking on Colorado, I will be doing the review of the Sunday game to pretty much wrap up reviewing all the game for match week number 25. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 8 games that happened on Saturday? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.